Okay, folks, this is actually, we're going to be going back to JB's Kitchen, actually, to introduce the interviews that you're about to see, and then we'll come back out.
Thursday.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about things that may have changed and whatnot afterwards. So let's go back to January 2020 and JB's Kitchen. We also have some names here that participated in what is called the small college showcase. Or College Gridiron Showcase. So there's two pieces to that showcase, the small schools and then the larger one, although they will mix apparently some of the D3 guys into both.
Yes.
At least that's what happened this past year. So Tevin Jones, linebacker from University of Mary Hardin Baylor, from what we understand was at least invited. We were trying to reach out to him, see how when didn't get any response as of this taping, but he is definitely in the conversation, trying to get a pro look, and obviously with the numbers he had this season as one of the top tacklers in the country, he's going to be in that conversation, I believe. But also D'Angelo Fulford, Mount Union, obviously. Jackson Erdman from St. John's both were in that situation there in that showcase. David Tammaro from Johns Hopkins. A lot of people don't necessarily know this about him, but he's been getting pro looks.
A lot.
And so we're going to basically try talking with him, but first we wanted to talk about this new showcase, or newish showcase that's going on, JB. Normally when we get outreach from all-star games or showcases like these, we don't like to promote them for the simple reason what they're doing is asking for money from the student athletes to come and play in this game or come.
It's a pay-to-play type of situation for sure.
So, okay, you already have kind of a ding against you in this, but the question really becomes, when you do pay the money, are they delivering in what they promise?
Yeah.
And that's looks from scouts, maybe some lessons about what's next, etc. And we did reach out and talk to a couple people about this small college or small school showcase and the College Gridiron Showcase, and we got some good feedback. So we wanted to bring on, I believe his name is Mr. Mike Rittelmann. Sorry, Mike, it took me a second there on my notes. But he is the Director of Scouting and Player Personnel for the College Gridiron Showcase and Small School Showcase. And we want to ask him about this event, and maybe you're a junior going to your senior year and might have the opportunity. You might want to listen up to see what you have to expect if next year goes well for you. Mike, thanks for joining us, and congratulations on what we heard was a pretty successful College Gridiron and Small School Showcase. We'll talk about the distinction and what that means in a second, but how did things go for you guys in this most recent rendition of it?
It was awesome, man. We had all together with the main showcase and the small school showcase, we had over 314 players from over 230 different schools from across the country and Canada. We had 135 plus NFL and CFL scouts. 31 out of the 32 NFL teams were represented, and all 9 CFL teams were in attendance. And it was awesome. I mean, it was a great show of talent from all levels, FBS, D2, D3, NAIA. So it was football paradise for me, man.
It does sound like a football paradise, but I mean, there are a lot of these different all-star games, showcases, and things that we've seen over the years. What kind of got you involved with this particular one, and what do you think kind of sets you guys apart from all the other games that are going on out there, I guess?
Yeah, so I started out 4 years ago with CGS as an intern, kind of working my way up with them. Just graduated with my master's back in want to say 2015, 2016, reached out to Craig Red. There was an opportunity. I knew someone on the staff at the time. Kind of grew from my role with CGS from there. I also coach at the event, help coach D-line. And then what sets us apart from the other great all-star games, I mean, any opportunity that any event that gives the opportunity for kids to showcase their talents is a great one. But what sets ours apart is we're an OTA style format. We don't have a game. What we do is, you have your 1-on-1, 7-on-7 inside run, but like we don't take the time during the week and implement a game plan. Literally for offense, we hold up a card and say, go run the play, and it lets the players play fast. Defensively, we're cover 2, cover 3, and then play some man, whatever. I mean, we're no blitzing, but I just let those guys play fast, physical, to showcase their talents for the NFL and CFL.
Mike, we in the intro here kind of talked about this distinction, albeit a little bit blurred from what I understand, between the small school showcase and the college gridiron showcase. Could you explain what each is, what the differences are, and how it all works to a degree?
Yeah, so we implemented the small school showcase 2 years ago. So this is actually the second year for it. What it is, it's FCS, D2, D3, NAIA, kind of those lower level unknown kids who still have the talent. We invite them for 2 days, again, in our OTA format. And what's cool about how we do it is we move up to 10 players from that small school showcase, and the scouts from the NFL and CFL teams pick who moves up. We have no say. The scouts will say, okay, we want to see so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. We want them in your main 4-day showcase, which our main 4-day showcase is FBS, FCS, D2, D3, NAIA. And that's another way that can set the College Gridiron Showcase apart from everyone else.
Speaking of setting things apart, I mean, as a scout, what would you say? I mean, there are obviously less opportunities for D3 players to make that jump to the NFL. What do you think these types of opportunities? I mean, do the scouts really care, like, oh, this guy went to Mount Union or St. John's or wherever? Is it really more about they're just assessing the athlete for the talent that they possess and trying to figure out, okay, this person could play in a pro style type of offense or defense, or is it more complicated than that? Is it political? Or from a scout's perspective, what's it really like for a small college guy to try to make that jump?
Well, thanks for calling me a scout, man, but I'm still learning from this perspective with the game. That was a nice title you gave me, but the biggest thing is if you can play, they'll find you. I mean, you have to have the physical attributes. I mean, you can't be, a 5'10" offensive lineman who's 250 pounds, of course. But if you have the intangibles and then overall, if you have the talent to play at a high level, they will find you. I mean, that couldn't be said better than watching Ben Barch at the Senior Bowl, which I got to go down and watch. And my goodness, he did not look like a D3 player at that event. But
sure.
The biggest thing is if you have the talent, they'll find you.
Well, if you guys have any need for a 43-year-old, possible QB that can't throw and has small hands, you let me know, okay? I'll come down and showcase myself.
You know what? I think a spot just opened up.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he sure didn't.
I think a spot just opened up. We'll take you.
Mike, you're too kind. But let me ask you a question. A couple things. We did talk to some players and their families that did attend, and so they want us mainly complimentary stuff, they said, but they suggested a couple questions for us. So first was, there's a cost to it, obviously. These things don't run for $0 for obvious reasons. What does the money go toward? And actually, for those out there that have different options, there are a lot of money-based, scouting type events out there, some better than others. What would you advise families or players to look for when they're going to actually, outlay some money toward these types of events?
Oh, that's a great question. So, the biggest thing I tell players, is what is going to give you the most exposure. And, there's other events, and of course, I don't know how they run, like for the smaller school showcases and whatnot. But for ours, we have the scouts there. At the small school showcase, we had about 85 scouts, I want to say. I'm guessing on that number. It's in that range. But whatever gives you the most exposure in front of NFL and CFL teams, that should be your main concern. And of course, cost does play a big effect to us in for them making that decision. So what our cost covers, it covers their their meals, their transportation throughout the duration of, like, say for their small school showcase guys, their housing, brain fart there. Housing, food, and transportation. Then when if you make it from the small school showcase, then that extends to our main showcase, and it covers our housing, food, and transportation as well.
So let me ask you this: we've seen other showcases, etc., kind of, do an all-out invitation, or wait for players to ask them to come in. How does the invitation, or let's say bid process for a situation like this work? Are you doing more of the seeking of players? Are scouts telling you who to pick? How does that really work in terms of who shows up or who gets invited, etc.?
So it's an interesting process for a young guy like me. I work closely with the two co-founders of the event, Jose Jefferson and Craig Redd. And also we've had Damon Talbot recently come on and help out with NFL Draft Diamonds as well. He's done a great job helping us. But we actually start that process in August. And we're in contact with NFL and CFL teams of, who's on their radar, who should we look at for our event, who would be a good fit for our event. It's invitation only. We sit down as a group, phone conference every Monday from August till a week before the event in late December, of building a roster per se, of inviting good talent to our event.
And it seems like you guys have, you definitely have dug through the diamonds. You found a few of these D3 players, some of which have been on our show here and there. I know you've probably looked at thousands of players over this past season. But are there any D3 guys that kind of that you can remember that sort of stood out to you? Obviously there's a lot of going on with Ben Bartsch from St. John's, and given the Senior Bowl and the coverage he's had there. But from the event that you guys held or other events that you've heard of, do you think that there's any other potential diamonds in the rough, some D3 guys that could end up, maybe not necessarily getting drafted, but could end up as a UDFA on an NFL roster come the springtime?
Oh, yeah. So one that comes to mind is D'Angelo Fulford from Mount Union, the quarterback. Man, he's got an arm, quick release, had a strong week at CGS. He was in our main showcase. Great kid, great attitude, great athleticism. And, you can see from his time at Mount Union, his success he had. Tyler Wetterings from Emory and Henry, nimble offensive lineman. He was in our small school showcase, but I also got to say the dude can long snap. That's a hidden talent. And he's like 6'5", probably a little over 300, but he was snapping in front of some scouts, and I was like, wow, that's impressive. Caleb Dalzall,
George Fox
from George Fox, 6'6", 275. This guy's got a big frame on him. Liked his hand usage, disengaging blocks. Played with a high motor. He actually played, they moved him around the front at George Fox, but who wouldn't? With that size at the D3 level, my man could play some ball.
Speaking of Speaking of long snappers, Mike, we noted earlier this week that a guy, I think Brian Corey from Carnegie Mellon, made the XFL. I don't remember which team exactly, but he's a long snapper, so he found himself a pro opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Has the emergence of the XFL, do you think it's going to create more opportunities? I mean, last year we thought we would have a lot more because we had the AAF,
Right.
we had Arena League, some of those, no longer with us, but with the XFL now, and they've got about 10 D3 guys. There's about 50 FCS guys on the roster of those teams. What do you think the XFL sort of brings to the mix here from a scouting perspective?
It's more opportunities. It's more opportunities to scout for good quality players, which are at the D3 level, D2 level, NAIA, FCS. It creates an opportunity, and we talked to them a little bit. Their training camp started the week of our event or sometime around there, so they couldn't make it. And but we've been in contact with them. They've asked for our rosters, so it's an exciting time to be playing football.
One of the players' families that we talked to had brought up that, again, good experience. One of the things that they would like to see improved maybe is for more positions to have individual coaches there or people familiar enough to set up the rotations. It was, in some cases, it was a little bit herky-jerky on the fly type stuff, but they still appreciate the exposure and everything else. Besides that kind of thing, what else do you think you will be able to improve on in future years for this? For instance, maybe between now and August, before you start scouting out who exactly should come to the next one, what are you guys working on to make it more value-added even than what you had this year?
That's a great question. We're actually going to sit down and have a meeting, myself and the two co-founders, within the next week. We've kind of decompressed and let everything come to fruition here. It's been about 3 weeks since our event, and so you can always improve. I mean, that's the big thing. We're going to sit down. We're going to see what we can improve on from different angles of the organization, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good, Mike. I'd appreciate you joining us here. And, as we've said, it's great to have these opportunities, especially to get them in front of scouts to the degree that we know your showcase has been able to do, both the small school and the college gridiron showcases that are out there. We normally offer this to our player guests, but you're a new face on the show, so we're going to offer it to you too.
Okay.
Any shout-outs
All
you
right.
want to give? You gave some shout-outs to some players already, obviously, that you saw that you liked from the D3 world, but anybody else want to give shout-outs to, D3 or otherwise?
You know what? I'm a former D3 player myself. Waynesburg University football, great little program in southwestern Pennsylvania. Played there for 4 years, had an awesome experience. Actually got to coach there for a year. The President's Athletic Conference is a good conference, and it continues to build notoriety year in, year out. And also just staff at CGS, Jose, Jefferson, Craig Red, all those guys who work behind the scenes. And, really, and thanks for giving a chance to a crazy young kid from Pittsburgh to be in this role. I'm thankful, man. And thank you guys. You guys rock. I mean, I listen to this every week, and great stuff and bringing notoriety to D3 football.
Well, think of us like Emery Hunt to a certain degree. Emery does a great
awesome.
job.
Oh, Emery, one of the hardest working guys in media for football. Just awesome to speak with him. I mean, just a wealth of knowledge every time you sit down and talk with him.
Yeah, he is great. We appreciate him and his contributions over the years on this show and otherwise with the ECAC show before we got involved with it to a certain degree. He is great. You're great, Mike. We appreciate it. We do not normally, we're not promoting you per se, but we are at least getting some due diligence done for some folks out there.
Oh,
here.
yeah, I appreciate it.
And yours does stand out. Like I said, for the scouting perspective and everything else, it does stand out. A lot of people are talking about it. So we wish you luck in it. Continue to expand the exposure level that you can give to Division III players. Sounds like you still have a passion for Division III with your own history too, so that's always great. Thanks again, and good luck down the line.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike, for that. And also, we want to talk to David Tammaro, who was, as we said, in the small school showcase, and talk about his pro prospects generally and see how things are going for him. So here is that interview. David, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a little less than a year since we last talked to you directly, and we were talking about some not so happy moments about Johns Hopkins football a year ago, January, and Coach Markgraf's passing. The season was an up and down one for Johns Hopkins. If you had to give yourself and your team a progress report or report card based on the 2019 season overall, an 8-3 season for your team, what would it be right now?
I think that's tough. I'm not sure if I could give it an exact grade. Grades are kind of binary, and there's a lot that goes into it. But no, I think that there was definitely some ups and downs, like you said. It was a lot of, I'll say that. That's one thing I can say is that, we had a first-time head coach, first-time offensive coordinator, first-time defensive coordinator, and first-time special teams coordinator. So, that was definitely tough. It took a lot of adjusting, and I think you could see that. We dropped an early game to Susquehanna. But, ultimately, I'm proud of the way the team fighted, and I think that, it was a good year. It was a great way to spend my senior year. Maybe it's not necessarily how I would have expected it, last December, but definitely was a memorable year. And I think it was a great year to go out on for me personally.
Well, David, and it was a memorable year in many respects because I understand, and you have to kind of dig around for this kind of information, but this is what I'm here for, this deep stat stuff. That's why Frank keeps me around. But I understand you finished your career as the all-time. I'm not talking about Division III. I'm talking about for any division of college football with the best interception avoidance record. So basically, you threw over 1,200 passes in your career, only 16 interceptions. The best mark before that was something around 1.5%. That 1,216 is about 1.33%. So, I spend Sundays going down to see the Buccaneers, and we get about 2 interceptions every game with Jameis Winston. I mean, pretty impressive, feat, and congratulations. But I have to imagine that sort of statistic and the fact that you have been so accurate and you're not turning the ball over might be a reason why that you're now starting to get some interest from pro scouts. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with that. Now that your senior year is over, how did the sort of transition point go from, hey, I'm just a D3 quarterback and maybe set some national records here and there, but you're now seems like you've transitioned into a real bona fide pro prospect. How did that happen?
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's pretty cool. You mentioned that. I didn't even know that record existed. More or less know that I had it, but thanks. That's awesome. And I think, it starts back my junior year, so I'll say about springtime of my junior year, my coach said, we got 2 teams that are interested in you as the first 2 teams that have ever contacted about me. And they want to come meet you at the school in the football office and kind of run through an interview, and talk to you a little bit. So that was pretty cool. That was after my second year starting. I started first as a sophomore and second year as a junior. So I had 2 teams come in spring. I met with them. We kind of just did a little interview. They had me do the Wonderlic test. They did some measurements. They did hand size, arm length, height, weight, all that good stuff. And then they kind of, went on their way. But, the time I kind of got where it transitioned from, hey, it's my dream to play in the NFL to, hey, I can really do this if I, work hard and have another great year. And then over the summer, I wasn't really getting much attention from scouts. Obviously, they're busy with their own season, and I'm not, at campus. I was off doing an internship. But then when I came back, we had our 2-3 weeks of fall camp before the season started, and I think 8 or 9 teams came in. It was a new team was coming in almost every day at practice to come, watch me throw. So that was really cool, and that was really where it was like, wow, David, like if you work really hard, you can achieve this. So that was that. So now it's kind of been a 6 more months. I've had a lot of teams come in. We had 25 out of the 30 or 32 teams in the NFL come in to see me this fall, watch me either at games or at practices. And I just went to the College Gridiron Showcase down in Texas, which was a great experience, met some more scouts, talked to some more guys. So no, now I think it's a real possibility, and it's going to take a lot of work these next couple months, but I'm ready for it.
David, do you think this hand size would be enough for a 43-year-old to maybe enter the pros a little late, just a little bit later than you are, possibly?
No.
Unfortunately, I don't. Unfortunately, no. But when I got my hand size measured back with the two teams in the spring, it was a 10 3/8, which I was told is really good. They made me measure it 3 times because they didn't really think that was possible for me, a guy 6'2", 6'3", but it is. I got some pretty big hands.
Okay.
Isn't it kind of fun? Wait a minute. No, well, but isn't this kind of funny, David? I mean, really, shouldn't it be about like your throwing motion, your timing on passes? Like, isn't it kind of weird that a lot of the scouting stuff is coming down to like hand measurements and what's my wingspan and how I mean, I guess height and weight makes sense because if you're going to play pro football, you better be able to take a hit, but. I mean, isn't some of the aspects of the scouting a little silly?
No, I think it is for sure. I think like they were telling me, besides height and weight, the next physical measurement that they look at for QBs is the hand size. That's the next most important, which I had no idea until they stuck my hand down and penciled it in. But no, it was cool. I guess I have an advantage over some guys.
Tracing like you're a little kid again, right? Like in grade school when we used to trace our hands. My goodness. Hey, David, let me ask you this. And folks, we're having a little Wi-Fi issue on our end, so we apologize to David for a couple of glitches every now and then. But overall, we're doing pretty well here. So we'll just continue, and I'll ask you, look, the season ends in mid-November. And the draft and all the undrafted free agency stuff happens basically in early April, give or take, if memory serves here. It seems like a long time to folks, but really this is a very compressed time frame, isn't it, in terms of getting an agent signed up and going out and finding different combine type activities, the combines themselves, participating in them, any bowl games and all the other stuff, the interviews. Kind of tell us the ringer you're being put through right now for folks that don't know what came next or comes next after your last game of college football to possibly get you to this point.
Yeah, no, it really has been a crazy process already, and it's still got a lot to go. But no, it started right after the season. I had to hire an agent, so I hired an agent, Arthur Weiss. A great guy, represents a lot of NFL guys, has a lot in the league right now, has had some in the past. He's been doing it for 30 years. So then after that, it was kind of just deciding on what all-star game / combine, / showcase event I wanted to participate in. So I got a couple invites to those, ended up choosing the College Gridiron Showcase, which I'm really happy I did. Had a good experience. And then, now it's I'm back at school, finishing up my last semester at Johns Hopkins. But, it's definitely, I got to train every day. I got to train a lot for this. I have my pro day coming up late March. So I've just been kind of working there. And I have 2 trainers who are willing to help me out with my journey. So we're kind of dialing up that program right now. We're just getting started. And it's going to be a crazy couple of weeks / months. And then after the pro day, we'll see what happens when the draft comes around. But, that's kind of what's been going on for me. And I'm really excited about these next couple months.
Tell us a little bit more about the showcase that you went through. From what I understand, it's not as much of a Senior Bowl type thing where it culminates in this big game at the end of the situation. But we're having on one of the people representing that showcase on our show as well, if we haven't already in this. But just give folks kind of a rundown of something like that. And there are others out there. We are not just trying to focus on one, but you've been through one, obviously. It was this one. Kind of give us just the rundown of the things that you went through there, and for folks that might have kids out there that are possibly draft worthy or UDFA, I guess is the way they say it now, worthy. What kind of recommendation, not about any specific showcase or anything, would you give them, but just about the pathway to what's next? I know you're not there yet, David, but I think a lot of people respect you for your level-headedness and for the amount of diligence you do on the things that we've seen you do before, not just playing the game of football, but you are a real good student of the game of football. I know that from talking to a lot of different people, and that's why the interest is there for you. So kind of give us that view of that one in particular showcase to the degree you can, and advice to folks out there.
Yeah, definitely. So from my personal experience at the College Gridiron Showcase, so we came in the first day. We had weigh-ins, in front of a bunch of scouts, a bunch of guys. There were guys from, top D3 talent all the way up to FCS, FBS, 1A talent. So that was cool. We did the weigh-ins. The next day, we had a practice. It was about 3 hours in front of a lot of the scouts. And, it was just doing a lot of individual work. We did a lot of one-on-ones. We did a lot of 7-on-7s, just all about showcasing your skills. And then it kind of culminated, like you said, it wasn't like a big game, like a Senior Bowl game, but we had a scrimmage, a controlled scrimmage. Everybody got reps, but which was a lot of fun. I really felt good about my play down there. It was cool. Emery Hunt, everyone knows him in the scouting world. He did a write-up. He was there, actually. I interviewed with him while I was there, but he did a write-up during it and talked about, 6 that stood out of the 100, 150 guys, and I made the list. So it sounds like I played pretty well when I was down there. But no, I think that guys who are looking, to play at the next level and have definitely received some attention, I think it's cool to, play in a showcase game like I did. I think only positive things came out of it, but I think you got to do your research and do your diligence. I picked a game that I thought, could best suit my skills and best showcase me in an environment, like I played against D3 talent my whole career. This had talent all the way up to 1A. So I got to showcase my talents in front of a little better competition. But no, I think it's about just picking the right game and right event for you. And, for me personally, I had a great experience and good things came out of it. So no, I recommend a showcase or bowl game, the right one, to anybody who's looking to play at the next level and has the abilities and has gotten the attention. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's sort of like a rehash of your college search, right? I mean, I'm sure, a kid with your background had a lot of good options aside from Johns Hopkins where you ended up, but it's like one of those things you got to try to find the right combination of people and resources and get it going from there. So Dave, I know you're still Blue Jays guy. Part of our program, we were trying to kind of project and analyze going into 2020. So you get to be an unofficial, like in the huddle, college analyst here. We've seen the Centennial Conference send teams to the Final Four the last 2 seasons. Is that a trend that's going to continue? Do you think that is Susquehanna now the team that might make the jump? You've graduated. Sometimes it takes programs a year or two to reload after having some great talented quarterbacks like yourself move on. What are your thoughts at a high level about the Centennial going into 2020?
No, I think the Centennial could contend for the best conference or the best conference in Division III football. I think the competition from top to the bottom is just great. There's never an easy game in the Centennial. Muhlenberg had a great year this year. They made the Final Four. Kudos to them. I think there's a number of teams that could make the playoff. Step. No, it'll be years play out and see who rises to the top. I think it's really could be anyone's conference. At this point, the competition's so great. It's a really cool place to play my last 4 years, and I'm looking forward to become a Centennial football fan. In the future. Okay,
Dave. Football doesn't work out. I've got it on good authority that you've got some backup plans if that should happen. That you are a decent student. Johns Hopkins is a pretty decent school. I've heard.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's not union, but it's okay. But what happens if football doesn't work out? What path would you take? Would it be job? Would it be school? And in what field? I mean, what is the non-football David Tammaro going to be when someday football's not in the equation?
Definitely. I think for everybody, your time playing football runs out, and I think being at Johns Hopkins has put me in a great place to succeed outside of football. I'm an applied mathematics and economics double major here, finishing up my last semester. I've done a couple of great internships. My one last summer was in venture capital at a firm called Green Spring Associates on the investment team, which I loved. It was an amazing opportunity. And I really think my future is in that. It's in investing, and I really have a passion for it. I'd say it's one of my hobbies outside of football. And I think, that's where my future and career aspirations lie.
So, Dave, we're going to wish you luck on that. I'm going to ask you for some investment advice after the interview, off the air. I don't want anybody to accuse me of insider trading or anything like that here. So, we'll do that off the air. JB's a banker and all, but he's never given me really good investment advice. I don't know what the heck that is with that. But David Tammaro, we don't have any photos of your brother in basketball play or anything like that this go around, but you might want to include him in your shout-outs here. Don't forget about in the huddle when you become this big football player someday, or big investment guru, whichever it is, or both. Just remember Frank and James in your investment.
The little people.
Yeah, in your trusts and all that. But go ahead, it's your turn for shout outs. Once again, David Tammaro, thanks for joining us, by the way.
Oh, of course. Thank you. And yeah, definitely, first shout out goes to my brother. Thank God we don't have to talk about how you're a better athlete and a better basketball player than me this time. But no, thanks also to my parents, mom and dad, always supporting me, whether, good, bad, or ugly, whatever happens in my life, always the number one people supporting me. And, I want to say shout out to my agent, Arthur Weiss. I think he's been doing a great job, and I think we have a great thing going forward. And we'll see what these next couple of months do. And honestly, I want to give a big shout out to you two. You two were some of my first supporters. So I just really want to say thanks a lot. Thanks for everything you've done for me over my career. And hopefully we can stay in touch and keep in contact moving forward. I know I won't be a Division III football player anymore, but hopefully we can still stay in touch. Maybe I can come in as a guest, maybe co-host in the future, guest star, but we'll see.
We got a box right there for you. Don't worry.
Come on.
One other thing, though, I do want to say, in all seriousness, your dad, Chris, is somebody who stayed connected with us, big fan of the show and everything else. And we were talking with him last week to kind of get filled in. I know you were in Florida with your girlfriend. Is sort of try and take a little relaxation, I think, from this whole process, which is good for you. You need to do that. But, his mentality is hands off until you want to talk to him about something. If you want to bring him in, great, because he is your dad and all. But he doesn't want to get deeply involved because you're an adult and whatnot. And I wish more parents at this point in the process would be like your dad is, because it's spot on. I think what he was telling us, if that is indeed what he's doing, is the way it should be. You are an adult. He's there to sort of help you through any mistakes that get made, but at the same time, he trusts you to make the best decisions possible for your life. And I really salute him for how he is approaching that. I know JB was impressed with our discussion with him last week as well. So, Chris, great work. You've obviously done a great job raising David, who is a phenomenal, I can't call you a young man, a young adult or mature adult, or however you want to call it at this point. And David, we do wish you the best of luck. Keep us posted on how things are going. And with or without football, you're going to be a success. I'm very confident.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, great interviews with Mike and with David. I mean, David, we as of the recording this, we hadn't heard back yet on where things stood for him. Coronavirus may have affected some of his activities. I'm pretty sure some of the stuff he wanted to do probably didn't come to fruition. But, JB, he's somebody that has the hand size, apparently. He's got that according to everybody. But, just the demeanor and very level-headed individual, for a mature individual for his age. You can tell. We talk to his dad about it all the time. His dad's like, he's so mature. He makes his own decisions. I have no involvement in this, and it's great. And that showcase may have helped him, launch himself a little bit. Not sure. There may have been other things that have done along the way too, but kind of give me your 30,000-foot view of both David and of that showcase to the degree you've seen some stuff from that.
Well, I think now, especially given that a lot of pro days have gone by the wayside, the fact that David did have the opportunity to perform in front of some scouts, at least he's a known quantity out there. And one of the things that came up in the interview that which I thought was really interesting is the fact that, he's been very consistent and very effective at not turning the ball over, which is at the pro level about as big a statistic for a quarterback as you could possibly have. So, chances of him getting drafted, probably not realistic, but the fact that he has had some experience in front of scouts in some of these showcase types of games should get him at least an invite to a camp. And he might just be another Joe Callahan type who can find either backup or third string job and kind of learn the ropes, learn the pro game. I mean, certainly when you look at some of the most successful quarterbacks in NFL history, a lot of them are real smart guys too. Like Brady went to Michigan and Elway went to Stanford. Doesn't get much better than a Hopkins education. So David certainly has the mental acuity to absorb advanced, complex offensive playbooks, and he certainly has the physical height and size to make the throw. So if anyone has a chance as a D3 quarterback to have an opportunity, it's going to be him.
Just taking a look at something here, but the. I believe if we end up having information from David in terms of any changes that have happened to him, we'll include those in the Thursday show coming up this week, kind of our final recap of this. Again, we split these out because the length of one show would have been way too long, and plus we want to spread it out, let you get some taste of content across the board little by little here. So Mike Rittelmann, I wanted to say though as well, great job in what you're doing. I can't promote what he does. Yep, exactly. He can't promote it, but at the same time, the trajectory of what he's doing seems to be very good, and a lot of people are taking notice of it. So it's got to be something decent at least out there. So consider it. If you see it and you have an opportunity to be part of it, weigh the pros and cons of it ultimately based on what he told us here about changes they're making and feedback they've gotten and everything else. So a lot to think about there. JB, let's leave it here. We'll have a full recap on Thursday of anything that's changed along the way. So thanks for joining us again here, folks, on In the Huddle.